Justice. The Enterprise visits a utopian paradise that seems to have no downsides until Wesley steps on some flowers.
Some of the preceding episodes were pretty bad, but this is by far my least favorite up to this point. It makes me angry. Every single thing they do with this episode, they do poorly, especially the portrayal of the people on the planet. You think there was just some creepo producer who said, hey, we need a planet with all these scantily clad people running around everywhere.
Gene Roddenberry was always focused on what sex would be like in the future, and he was still a big part of the show at this point, and it comes through. The aliens, named the Edo, are stupid. They're just stupid.
At least there's a reason in the story for them being so simplistic, because they're all being misled by this god being orbiting their planet.
You say misled, I say they've never had to do anything for themselves ever, so they don't know any difference.
The fact that they're called the Edo makes me think of the Eloi from the Time Machine. It's a similar idea, and they even look similar to their depiction in the 1960 movie version, where they're all white and they all have blonde hair, and they go through life without any problems or without really questioning anything.
This episode is really a political ad in disguise. Haven't you always wanted an omnipotent shadow government leading you from the dark? Just relax, get naked, and do whatever you want. All you have to do is follow the weird, dumb laws. Even in the opening, when they're discussing the planet, Picard says, "Sounds great, let's hope it's not too good to be true." And then the music gets all ominous and dark. Dennis McCarthy has 2 degrees. One is in music composition, and the other is in subtlety.
Let's just hope it's not too good to be true.
When they initially land and they're greeted by the Edo, it's incredibly hypersexual.
Worf says,
"Nice planet.
even though later he says,
I must restrain myself too much. They are quite fragile, sir."
whoever designed their clothing wasn't just trying to show that they don't wear a lot of clothing, they also thought it was cool to have the men wear these weird things that go up around their necks. It looks like the single most uncomfortable thing to wear ever, and the way they run around everywhere, it definitely feels like they must have had some kind of pervert on staff.
The conversation about running summarizes everything about how stupid the Edo, and in turn this entire episode, is.
Come, our people will want to know you.
Rivan, perhaps they can't run.
Can't run? Of course we can run. Right, Commander?
That's the custom here, running.
It seems like they tried to make them more alien by doing that, but it did not work.
What is that thing you're doing, weird alien? It's like we call this moving faster than normal.
Riker and of course Tasha Yar both look really excited.
This is Tasha's dream planet.
At least they're being consistent with their characterizations so far.
Wesley goes to play with some kids, and one of them throws a ball. As he runs to catch it, he falls into some flowers in a protected garden.
It's forbidden to disturb new plants!
And it turns out that if you break any law at any time in any degree, you are executed. So the crew has to figure out how to get Wesley back without violating the Prime Directive.
There's real potential in this episode for exploring different perspectives and how to react to the situation, but the entire episode handles everything so clumsily. Tasha Yar describes their laws as common sense. It's another example of the way they talk about other cultures. They say they respect them, but they only really do if the other culture matches up with what they already believe.
It turns out that there's a godship thing that's watching over the planet, and it's pissed that the crew has interfered with the Edo. It's really a civilization way more advanced than anything in the Federation, and since the crew is used to being superior, they don't know how to react to something that's better than them, and really do not accept it.
This show does a similar thing a lot where they come up with a tricky situation like this, and instead of exploring it in a realistic way, they just keep butting their heads against the same wall until they finally either figure something out or don't figure something out and just kind of go away like they do in this episode.
Eventually, they violate the Prime Directive and leave with Wesley. They try to make an appeal to the godship that there must be exceptions to absolutes.
There can be no justice so long as laws are absolute. Even life itself is an exercise in exceptions.
But you know, if another culture tried to make that argument to the Federation, it would be outright rejected on principle alone.
Yeah, for all their talk of respecting others, it always comes back to them and what their own perspective is.
Justice. Overall?
Writing, not very good. Costumes, stupid. Acting, over the top and ridiculous. Every single thing that happens is dumb. I'm going to give it a D. for dumb.
I'm going to give it a D-, but it's flirting with an F. Everything is too simplistic. They could have expanded in any direction to give this episode some more depth if there had been some kind of substance to the writing.